We are the bar. No,
I'm not doing a Swiss accent because you can't do an Irish accent that sounds so. This is why Irish people don't get over in wrestling because they have to sound.
Well, okay, can we just get over the fact that you've gone the wrong way?
Bar.
No, you've ruined
bar.
Everything. Yes, well done.
Bar.
Got there in
Bar
the
of chocolate.
We've got the ginger man and the very
Sheamus
muscular and handsome
over top Irish accent because that's how you get over in My name is Finley and
Top of the morning to you.
I love to fight.
I love to fight.
Oh, I feel so sorry for anyone who's like Irish or anything.
We've just alienated our entire fan base.
No, they know that they're going. Oh yeah, that's what they have to sound like in wrestling because that's not my Irish accent. Mainly I do Northern Ireland. Just gotta sound dour. Everything's measurable. Yeah. Sorry, people from Northern Ireland. Everything's measurable. I can't believe this is how we started the Power Rankings!
Yes! So, welcome to the Power Rankings. Today we are looking at the bar. This is where we take all of our favourite or not favourite wrestlers, put them into 10 different categories and rank each category out of 10 to give a score of 100 each. We combine those scores and we decide who, in our opinions, is the bestest and worstest of the wrestlers in the history of the history. Exactly.
Today we're looking at the bar.
The bar.
Short-lived tag team. Now, before we get in, remember when people see us do tag teams and sometimes we've had good singles runs, this is solely as the tag team. So you can't talk about Sheamus' world title runs, Cesaro's stuff in AEW, all that stuff out. It is just the bar. That's what we're talking about today. But before we get into the bar, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And anyway, let's get to the bar of chocolate.
So the first category we are looking at is their tag team wrestling ability. Quite self-explanatory, just their in-ring work purely. What have you got, Sam?
I had difficulty with this.
I'm surprised.
I had a real tough one with this. And you know what? I had to, at that point, after arguing with myself, had to sit there and go, nope, this is the score. They are a 10 out of 10 tag team wrestling team.
Yeah.
I literally, every time I watch their match, the wrestling is excellent.
Yeah.
They didn't have a bad match.
No.
Every match is great. The only thing that I would argue maybe potentially is the memorableness of their matches potentially, but I blame the division. You know, when we sometimes like marked on Beth Phoenix and people like that and we gave them the higher score because of the where they were and who they were against. I think these are similar. I think the bar came around and everyone went, where's the other tag teams gone? And they just went, well, we're the best. And we'll do it. And sometimes that's actually not a bad place to be in, really.
Yeah.
If you can have one extra tag team to feud with. So, for example, you've got the Usos have got the New Day. And they'll forever in ties. So that can put them on higher echelons with the Hardys and your Christians and all that jazz. I think the bar are not going to get put on that plateau because they didn't have that other team massively to go with. They got the New Day had tailed.
They had the New Day for a little bit.
Yeah, Hardys had old Hardys. But for me, from a wrestling standpoint, I just think they're a 10. I couldn't knock them down. They're phenomenal.
Yeah, I'd given them a 9.
Yeah,
but I think
which is where I bounced between. I was they can't be a 10. They can't be a 10 out of 10. But
they can't.
They can't. Yeah.
I think you can very much rank. I think 9.5 is probably around.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was, and I went, what do I feel more in my gut? Yeah. And I went, do you know what? I feel I more have to round up than round down.
That's fair. I think I've just given them a 9, but I can't disagree with anything that you said.
Oh, they're phenomenal.
Yeah.
Oh, they worked
unbelievable.
So well. It's amazing what happens when you have mates tagged together.
Yeah, you can tell that they're having fun and they're enjoying it. Oh. And you can tell that some of the moves they put together, they've worked on. Like, they would do it beautiful. Like, Sheamus would do his, that roll through.
Yes.
And then immediately in the same motion, Cesaro would double
And that was another thing. The tag team wrestling, I'm a big fan. If you're going to be a tag team, you do tag team moves.
Yeah.
And there are so many tag teams that didn't. Like we did Bod a month ago. And how many tag team moves did they have that wasn't a finisher? Not many. Whereas these guys worked, honed, and crafted a tag team style. And it was interesting because it was European, it looked different, it was hard hitting, it was brute force. Oh, I loved it. I love their wrestling.
I think a lot of people can get stuck in a tag team, especially where those two were. They wanted to get to main events.
They did, yeah.
And I think a lot of people, when they get stuck in the tag team division, especially then, can just get lazy and go, oh, we're stuck in a tag team, this is worth it.
We're still going to be over, we're still going to be in a decent position.
Just coast. They did not coast. They were phenomenal.
They got themselves more over and put a higher. Cesaro went on a run of singles runs. Sheamus has been brilliant, and when he came back as heels and all that jazz. And 10 out of 10 for me, 9. They are that good.
Now we move on to their tag team storytelling. Now this is their in-ring storytelling. Can they tell a story in a match? Sam, what have you gone?
I've gone 9.
Yeah.
They did tell stories in the ring. I think the only reason it dropped me down is I couldn't think of any storylines. And I know that's such a small part of the storytelling aspect we do, because, we haven't got a section for storylines, and that's the booking, it's not them. It's not fair to go, they didn't have any storylines, because, like, well, who types, he types it. But you still have to add it in, and I don't think they had many storylines. The storyline they actually had was going into their tag team. Like, how often does that form a tag team? Best of 7, put some on house shows. Not a fan that some of those best of 7s were on house shows, just show them all. Every match was a banger.
Yeah.
We all thought we'd get bored. We did not. They were all great. They were all different because those two are phenomenal wrestlers. And then they drew, and we were all very cross, very angry. And Foley went. Remember, Foley was the GM.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. And then they put them into a tag team because they were the winner. Got a title shot. And they went, "You get a tag team title shot." And you're like, and then what we got?
It worked, and they ended the New Day's reign.
And they did. They were like days after they just got it. They did a great episode, I think, on Raw, where like Stephanie McMahon's going, "You're going to defend it again because you were slightly mean to me," and then they lost it on the pay-per-view immediately after. It was like, don't just do the thing and then
just for the sake of it.
Just it really annoyed me. But in the grand scheme of things, I'm actually happy it was them. But from a storytelling standpoint, obviously their psychology in the ring was outstanding. You knew what was happening. They were very good at cutting off the ring without it being boring, which is our biggest bugbear in tag team wrestling. I think it actually went into one of your lot boxes.
One of my lot boxes
was just tag team boring, and you're right. I never found their matches particularly boring often. And I think their storytelling produced that.
You nailed it. I don't think I have much to add to that. I think what can potentially bring them down is, I think, again, opponents. So you've got to go, what opponents they have. And I think maybe they didn't get as much time as they could have wanted for extra storytelling. But I think I'm just
when they did get time.
Oh, my word. Yeah. We now move on to their promo skills. Now, again, this is specifically looking at their promo skills as a team. When they were together, Sam, what have you gone with?
Tough one, because Sheamus is a fantastic promo, and I'd actually argue a very underrated promo. And I think since he came back after he'd done stuff with like Pete Dunne and all that lot, and just after that, I think his promos have been even better. I think he's been really, really good. So much so that I would go, if you'd have come 5 or 6 years earlier, this would be main event. I actually think he should be a main eventer again. And Cesaro isn't a great talker. But I will say this. I thought this was Cesaro's best promo work. Yeah. Was happening during the bar. Because I thought he had someone to bump with, someone to take off a lot of the talking. So weirdly, I was looking at this and went, well, clearly we're going to have to take Sheamus's score, take Cesaro's score, average them together, and you pop out, a 5 or a 6 or something like that. And I went, you know what? Sheamus was outstanding. Sheamus is great during this time. And then Cesaro was at his best. I don't think Cesaro's been as good a promo when he was on his own or in AEW. I've gone 8.
Have you?
I've gone that high for promo because I think this is Cesaro's best stuff. And do you know what? They made me laugh.
Yeah.
I thought they were really funny. And they got over, we're the bar, and, you don't just raise the bar.
Yeah.
All that stuff.
The bar, we are the bar.
All that stuff.
Yeah.
That's, Sheamus has to take most of the credit, but Cesaro did his legwork.
100%.
If Cesaro was as level on Sheamus, they'd probably be a 10 as a tag team.
And how many tag teams in recent history can you think of that had a proper catchphrase that
No,
was over?
very
It sounds
few.
simple, but it's
That gets you over.
Yeah,
Gets
exactly.
you over.
I've gone 7.
Which is
similar,
fair.
Yeah, which is similar reasons. I think Sheamus did really elevate Cesaro. When they were on screen, you weren't bored. Like, they always just had something going on. And again, you could still tell they were having fun.
Yeah. I loved when they had Mike in the hand, because it was always a good giggle. It was always a good giggle.
Next up, we are looking at their look, their physical appearance. It could be their entrance attire, their ring attire, just their overall presentation as a look. Sam, what have you gone with?
8. I think they looked cohesive a lot of the time, which always helps with the tag team. I always think you should be wearing something similar, or at least there should be some connection between you. I don't know why I don't think 9 or 10. I just think it's not an iconic look. I don't think it's a special look. I think they have some other things that we're going to talk about later on that made it iconic for them or special. Their look, I don't think so. I think they're such 2 different looking people. But one, it's not like little and large or anything like that. They're 2 stacked, built men, and they look strong. And I've always talked about Cesaro, with Wade Barrett, it's very hard to manage their look because is it a look you can sell, even though their look's great at the same time. I think 8's as fair as I could go. It's not middle, but I don't think I could push them 9 and 10.
I'd agree with that.
I couldn't work out why either.
Well, I get why, because in ring attire, it is a bit bland. But their entrance, I love the jackets they have.
I didn't mind the jackets. I like the fact they had an Irish and a Swiss flag on.
Yeah, I really liked it. It was almost like a uniform. It gave them that sense of unity.
That's the problem. I liked their look out of the ring.
Yeah,
They came in kilts at one point
yeah,
as well.
yeah.
I liked that look. I liked all the look, but the problem is they then took all that crap off.
Yeah. Well, I did always like that Cesaro had a gum shield. I always kind of like that.
To be fair, he had a gum shield because he landed on the corner and bust his teeth.
He did, didn't he?
So
yeah, but I still
he didn't have a choice.
It's still a look.
He didn't have much of a choice. He had to
Still
wear
a look.
I remember that. His teeth like went in. It was rough.
No, that was gnarly. But yeah, 8 for me. Next, we are looking at their entrance. Should we do it, Sam? Or is that going to be too...
I'm not moving any camera work.
I love their entrance. Sam, what have you given it?
I reckon I might like their entrance. But I reckon I love it more than you. I've gone 10.
Wow.
My rules always for tag team wrestlers is their entrance very rarely aren't that interesting, or they're not that important or memorable. Even some of the best tag teams in the world didn't do a lot. I think Edge and Christian, I don't think, did.
No.
Particularly a lot. And this is one of the greatest. You could even say the Dudley Boys, didn't do a lot in the grand scheme of things, but I would remember their entrance. Their entrance with the white light in the darkness, the spin round that's been taken by how many people since?
Yeah.
Like, you think about the Bullet Club have done it, and the Bang Bang Gang and all that jazz. Do that spin, and they all love that. Gets massive. Well, they did the spin, and Cesaro come in underneath. I love the white light thing that they took from Sheamus and added to them. I thought them together. I genuinely think it's such a great entrance that people were everyone wanted to watch this entrance.
Yeah.
Especially on house shows.
Yeah.
This was one of the highlights of a night from people sending me and going, what to watch their entrance. I actually think their entrance is amazing.
When he came in, they always got a pop as well.
Yeah.
Oh, the bar.
Yeah.
They did this thing, didn't they? They did the whole bang
Yeah,
of the wrist.
I generally think if you're looking at tag teams, because remember you have to we did this before we talked about the women wrestlers, we have to examine a bit differently because they were treated such differently over the course of the world, and so we have to be a bit more lenient in there. And tag teams is a very similar thing. How many had that entrance or how many had tag team finishes, and we always had I generally think their entrance from a tag team perspective is a 10 out of 10 tag team entrance.
I'll give it a 9 now, just because you persuaded me. But yeah, it's brilliant.
So you got 9?
Yeah.
I think this is a fantastic entrance.
Yeah.
I really do. It's kind of been taken. The white light's been taken by a few people, and the spinning round has been taken.
That's the best sign. Imitation is the final small flattery.
They were that good.
Next, we move on to their work as heels. Sam, what have you got out of 10 for heel work?
9.
Wow. It's going to be high.
Yeah, every time I kept looking at the bar, I kept going, you have been screwed over by the fact that you don't have tag teams around you.
Yeah.
And that's not fair. You can't knock somebody down because they didn't have other tag teams or equal teams. Because we had New Day at the beginning, and they were just getting a bit long in the tooth, and then carried on for another 5, 6, 7 years. And then you got the Hardys, but it was the 40-year-old blokes. And then I'm stuck.
You had American Alpha for a tiny little bit.
Oh, that was like the
they were on
heartbeat.
SmackDown. They never really came on the... But they had a lot of potential. The
Yeah.
Usos are the big ones.
Yeah,
and
it is
they did
the
have a feud with
Usos.
the bar as well.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying. Then you have to bring in Usos, but Usos before they became the Uso
Yeah.
Penitentiary, was just before they kicked in.
I think they did. No, I think that was their
It's
Uso
a
Penitentiary.
it's a
They were kind of
crossover.
just starting in.
Yeah, but so I think that's the one. But I don't think you can knock them down because generally as heels, they couldn't. No babyface team could get close to them because their heel work was so great, and because they cut off the ring so well, that was it was interesting as heels. Their promo work was so interesting as heels. I just look at it and I go, as a heel tag team, they were bigger, they were stronger, which is one from a heel tag team. You want to be beaten up. They could be serious. They could be funny. As heel tag teams, generally speaking, I went, right, who's the best heels tag teams? You think about Edge and Christian and people like that, and I go, they're not on that level. And then think of other heel tag teams. You go, do you know what? They are probably on that level. And I just wish they had the big babyface team, or the over babyface team at the time. I wish we had the Usos being at their best, or the New Day being a bit more fresher, and we could have had something phenomenal.
Yeah, we could have had again that magic of Edge and Christian, Hardys and Dudleys.
Yeah, we could have.
I would love to have seen a triple threat TLC match with those three teams.
Because hang on, weren't they in the ladder match at 33? And it was Enzo and Cass,
yes,
who they never did anything with,
and it was
the good brothers,
yeah,
and the Hardys, and it's that. So you see what I mean? That tag team division is like, ooh, you have to bring the Hardys back to get a pop because no one cared about a triple threat ladder match.
I know.
That's people were going for a fag break,
which is insane.
And then the Hardys noise hits, and everyone's like,
the best moment.
And I'm there going, you do realise it was obvious that the Hardys were returning, lads.
At least
they were all deleting, guys. Did you not work it out?
At least stay and just see if it happens.
But yeah, what have you gone for here?
Oh yeah, I've got 8.
Right.
I just think their psychology was so good either way, which we'll get into in a minute. Their work in terms of they could get heat very well. Do you remember Cesaro? So I think it was SummerSlam, they were facing the Hardys or someone. and they had that whole beach ball thing.
Ran into the crowd. Did you
Beach
think?
ball.
Do you think Vince is on the headset? Go, where's he going?
Yeah.
Where's he going? Grabbed it. That's brave.
Yeah.
In the crowd without anyone knowing you're going into the crowd. I hope he told somebody. But and then grabbing it before anyone else and popping it and ripping it. If you bring a beach ball to a wrestling event, a cricket event, what are you doing? You are stop. In fact, I'm going to have to go on a rant. So we're going to cut it off here.
I've triggered him.
Because I'm really angry.
Do we need to bleep?
It might go into the bloody lockbox.
Yeah.
So, bloody beach balls.
And now we move on to their work as baby faces. Sam, what have you got for babyface work?
7.
Oh, okay.
It doesn't quite work.
Really?
Not to the same extent. I think they had to be heels. I think they didn't have that many heels to go against anyway when they did have heels. But B, it didn't quite work for me as babyface. Because also they didn't do it that often anyway. I remember at the beginning, Sheamus was heel and Cesaro was babyface. And then I remember the heel turn being really good. But I think their work is just so good that you can't knock them down. But in the grand scheme of things, I've got nothing to latch onto as them as baby faces. And they were baby faces, so we can give them a score above 5. That is true. They were baby faces. But do you remember anything of them as baby faces?
Yes. May I try and change your mind?
Please.
I love the first of all the entire story of them becoming a tag team.
Yeah, that's great.
It's great babyface work.
It wasn't because Sheamus was the heel and Sheamus stayed a heel.
No, they turned face.
No,
Sheamus.
No, they were. Sheamus was healing, trying to get Cesaro the entire term. Sheamus was at most a tweener, and then Cesaro turned with him.
I know. I thought they started off as babyfaces because they were faces when they won the title.
No, they weren't. Not really, because they beat the New Day.
Yeah, but I thought the New Day kind of started going a little bit tweener.
They were massively baby.
They were getting a bit cowardly.
Sam, sadly, you generally misremembered this hugely.
Okay, so that was my first point.
Which is wrong. Next.
Yeah, okay. They have a great... So the swing and the thing at the same time...
They are 7 for
they
that reason.
They have great, babyface psychology.
But the problem is, what they doing this as babyfaces a lot of the time. The problem is they did so much of this as heels because you forget the tweener thing because when they got things in the Royal Rumble, Sheamus got grabbed by Cesaro and everyone went mad because they were still like, are you against, are you for? And then they did the heel turn a couple of months later. Yeah, well, I think it was Extreme Rules, my brain's telling me.
I think that adds to them as a babyface.
That's why I marked it as, it's not Sheamus as a babyface. I don't think they can go any higher than a 7, I really don't.
I get you. I always remember Cesaro's hot tag as well, in that big multi-man match where he just killed him.
Yeah.
But they are very good babyface
They could
wrestlers.
They just didn't have it. They weren't given the opportunity.
The main thing is the lack of heels to face. But I think psychology-wise and in-ring-wise, they were great as a babyface team. So 8. I gave them 8. Now we go for the gimmick and personality. Sam, what have you given them for the gimmick?
8.
Yeah.
The idea that it's a simple gimmick. We're the top. We are the bar. We raise the bar. Calling themselves the bar, I think, is really clever as well. Just the fact that their gimmick is around a chocolate bar.
They became a team in a bar.
They became a team in a bar. I just like the fact that they were like, we have raised it. You've got to match us. And it just automatically, we talk about gimmicks that are great gimmicks because they automatically can put you over. And calling yourselves, we are the echelon, we are the best, we'll get you over.
But then the thing is, you have to live up to that, and they did.
And that's that. Well, they were going to. So it's not like not someone else.
Colin Edge and Randy, the greatest match of all time.
Oh God, no! Don't remind me of that. What have you gone with, Sam?
I went with a 7.
Okay,
purely because it's a great gimmick. I think for an 8 or a 9, I'd want a bit more depth. And again, that's not really necessarily their fault.
Did they need to bring more tables out, is what you're saying?
Yes. I just think I need a little bit more for an 8, but I think you can justify an 8.
I just like that. I like the gimmick.
And now we look at how over or how much of a draw they were, so how much kind of tickets they brought in, or if they weren't a main event, were they getting the pops, were people buying their merch, were they over? Did people like them? Sam, what have you gone with?
8. Again, we talked about earlier that their entrance pop, every match everyone was interested in. They made tag team interesting, even though there was no interest in tag team wrestling at the time. It was almost like they took it on their own back and went, we'll make tag team interesting. Everyone had finished with Usos and New Day. They'd finished with that. So, we need to do something else. And they did it. And literally every time that their music hit, they got a pop. And people were happy, heels or baby faces. And you've got to remember, at the end of the day, Sam, they were so over. I don't know if this was linked to Braun Strowman, but they were so over that they got an entrance at Mania. Mardi Gras.
Oh,
they got a Mardi Gras entrance, and I don't know if that was just so that Braun Strowman could scare them, or they needed to put Mardi Gras in somewhere because they were at that WrestleMania. At the end of the day, they gave it to those two. They were so over enough that they gave them an entrance. How many people can honestly go, I got an entrance at WrestleMania? And they can say that.
As a tag team.
Yeah.
And it's not one of those where a lot of tag teams, they go in a ladder match and it's just a very brief entrance where let's get everyone down into the ring.
Go, 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 go.
5 minutes.
I'm sorry, the worst entrance of that is the Miss WrestleMania Battle Royal where they all gyrate on Kid Rock.
Well, it's also, you've got loads of like big returns and they're just kind of
Like
in...
Sunny, Molly
going
Holly.
to a busy supermarket.
Yeah. Kid Rock is not in Tesco's. Other
Maybe
supermarkets are
Waitrose.
available. Kid Rock is not in Waitrose.
I was thinking of a more high...
He's a grungy rock star.
He's got money. He can afford Waitrose.
I just got the idea of Kid Rock with Percy Pigs. Ooh, gelatin free.
You're going to see Ronaldo, yeah.
In the middle aisle. Looking, oh, a toy guitar. I can play this better than my actual guitar. Stop using Kid Rock as a musician. What have you gone with? It's over
For
the
Cesaro and Sheamus. I'll go with a 7.
Which is...
So as we recover from that wonderful image of
My name is Kid Rock in Aldi.
So tag team finisher. We should end on a finish and we should just end in general. What have you gone with for their tag team finisher set?
So I've got this. For me, their tag team finisher was Sheamus putting them into white noise.
Yes.
And Cesaro diving off and them slamming it down. I give it an 8.
Really?
Yeah, I actually liked that as a move because everyone knew it was a finish. Because first of all, Sheamus is cleverer than we realise as a wrestler. If you can get multiple finishes over and you have multiple ways to finish a match, I think Gunther has a very similar aspect as well. That's good because you think about how many moves Sheamus actually has because he has the Bro Kick, obviously, is his main one. But he has won matches with White Noise very occasionally, but he has. And then you've got the Crucifix.
Yeah.
He has a submission move as well, doesn't he?
Yes.
It's like that Cloverleaf. I think he does the Cloverleaf.
Cloverleaf,
Hasn't done it as much as I'd like him to do. And Sheamus very clever, gets many moves over. Cesaro, very similar actually. He's won moves with uppercuts and he's won moves with the neutralizer, sharpshooter as well.
Yeah,
and
just the swing.
so to combine things together, I think that finisher actually worked and it did win matches and it was relatively protected. Most tag team moves aren't that great in the grand scheme of things. And I like this move. I've made it what made White Noise more impactful.
Maybe I am being harsh. I've given it a 6.
But I can also understand that though.
Yeah, I just think ultimately you've got one move and you've just added Cesaro kind of jumping at the move.
What would you give the score of the New Day's, like, what is it, Midnight Hour?
To me, I would still give that probably an 8 or a 9 because...
So why is that any different?
Because what you're doing is you've got the big ending, but Xavier Woods or Kofi are adding a DDT onto it.
Not really.
Whereas,
They're jumping on top. They're not adding a DDT. Watch it properly.
I have watched it many times.
They dive on.
You've got 2 moves in one, whereas Cesaro's kind of just... He's putting his hands there. And yeah, he's making the impact more forceful, but it doesn't look that good at times if you time it. Yeah, if you don't time it right,
do you know what? Maybe I've gone a little bit high on that.
I get your reasoning, but I just thought 6 because you've not been that creative, and they are really creative with the rest of them.
You're saying they could have had a much bigger... Didn't at one point they were doing a swing into a bro kick?
Yeah, and that would be...
But they didn't do that enough because I know they did that when he was with Tyson Kidd.
Yes,
and we'll do them one day. We'll do Cesaro and Tyson. How many Cesaro tag teams can we get through? But we'll do it with Kidd and they did the drop kick, but it wasn't a finishing move. If they'd have bro kicked more into the spin, I think that would have been really great.
The problem with that though is it does take too long.
Yes, it does. Well, the spin's so over. It doesn't matter if it's something...
True.
It doesn't matter if it takes long if it's super over. Think of the worm.
No,
if everyone cares, it doesn't matter. You're probably right. I have probably gone a little bit high because White Noise is a decent move. I'll chop it down to a 7. You're probably right.
And now we look at the overall scores, what we've each given them out of 100, and then we shall combine them. Sam, what have you gone with out of 100?
84. Wow. Turns out I really like the bar.
Yeah. You know, I've gone 78, but I could have gone higher.
Yeah. So that's an overall score of 162. They obviously jump into our tag team leaderboard, and they have just slotted into the bronze medal position. They've gone into 3rd place, pushing down the primetime players even further, but also Miz and Morrison. I think 3rd place behind Hardy Boys and Bod. If you were saying rank these 3 teams, you'd probably go. Yeah. You'd probably go with that.
And we've had a lot of really good tag teams.
Hard to beat. We might have to start throwing in some tag teams. Maybe it's time we bring back the Dicks.
Yes. Or Chronic.
Oh, God, no.
Let's rank Chronic.
They were so over in WCW. I can't believe Chronic's been mentioned in the Sheamus versus the... Oh, God.
I do apologise.
Anyway, Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and join us next time as we try and raise the bar of our own YouTube skills.
We are the bar.
I really fancy.
That sounds like a pirate.
I really fancy a dairy milk.